question for the third and final time, how many aliens who've entered the country pursuant to CHNV since October 2021 have changed their immigration status?
At the moment, I don't have those numbers with me, but
this
again,
is outrageous. How many aliens who have entered the country pursuant to CHNV since October 2022 remain CHNV parolees?
Again, I don't have those numbers with me.
You were asked these questions in September. You were told in advance of this hearing that they would be asked again, and you were advised to have answers for us. These are basic questions of data. I'm astonished and appalled that you would appear before this committee with all of this advance notice and not be prepared to answer these basic questions.
So, Mr. Chairman, as you understand, I am the director of USCIS. I obviously am going to do my best to get back to you.
There's no excuse for you appearing before this committee unprepared to ask or to answer questions that you were specifically informed would be asked.
I'm going to ask you the Vice President Harris question. First of all, you're a political appointee, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets over what's happened over the last 4 years with the open borders policies in all its different ways here in America?
I am proud of the efforts that this administration has made with regard to its efforts.
So you have no regrets?
Southwest border.
You have no regrets?
Effective border management that's enduring.
Yes or no, please? Respectfully, yes or no? Do people have more confidence now on the street, on the American people who pay the taxes, who pay your salary and my salary, do they have more confidence now than they did 4 years ago? Yes or no?
I have not served.
$7.6 million foreign nationals have been allowed, indeed many would say encouraged, to illegally enter our country, overwhelming our social services, our public schools, our public hospitals, and inflicting all manner of crimes upon our people. USCIS, under its current director, has played a central role in this calamity by abusing its authority and twisting the law to permit millions of illegal aliens to claim special privileges not available to legal immigrants or American citizens. From the first day of Biden's presidency, USCIS rescinded the Trump policies that protected the integrity of our immigration system. It adopted policies that transformed temporary programs into de facto permanent residency programs and helped lock in decades-old decisions that had obviously been contradicted by events. For example, temporary status for victims of a hurricane in Honduras that occurred 20 years ago. Most infamously, they took a parole authority that required case-by-case review of individual exigent circumstances to provide temporary entry to the United States and transformed it into a fraud-ridden mass admission of more than 500,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, up to 1,000 every day. The administration's illegal parole program purports to require a sponsor to take personal responsibility for supporting such parolees during their stay in the United States, but USCIS has perverted this requirement by accepting sponsors who receive welfare benefits themselves, who've submitted fraudulent documents, or who are subject to deportation themselves. No attempt is made to determine criminal histories or to check the veracity of sponsors' claims.
You know, we often hear the majority talk about the need for people to enter the country legally, making it sound like the vicious fight that they have waged against immigrants is solely about the need to come here legally. And yet, for 4 years under Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, Republicans did everything possible to destroy the legal pathways that our country desperately needs, taking away most of the ways that people had to come legally, even to rejoin family members or to fill job offers. They left the agency responsible for this, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, in shambles, needing to be entirely rebuilt. And you and the Biden administration have done just that, rebuild the agency. Director Jadot, let's review what you inherited from the Trump administration. In 2020, USCIS was broken. Legal immigration slowed to a trickle. And despite a backlog of over 1 million applications, many employment-based visas were going unused. Applications for citizenship were way down and taking over a year to process, and processing delays were rampant and at record high levels. The Trump administration stripped away USCIS's service-oriented mission and eradicated common-sense policies that improve agency efficiency, replacing it with policies designed to destroy the legal immigration system and make it even harder for anyone to apply for a legal pathway. Now, let's be clear, it is no coincidence that more people came to the border when those legal pathways were intentionally destroyed. Despite claiming to be pro-legal immigration from time to time, multiple members of this subcommittee have advocated for stopping all legal immigration to the United States for a period of time, and that's on the other side. This would take us in completely the wrong direction. Countries that have severely restricted immigration have paid the price. As the baby boomer population continues to age and retires, coupled with declining birth rates, America will continue to need more legal immigration. The truth is that we benefit from the contributions of immigrants and their families in every single field of work, whether it is in the dairy industry in Idaho or the home healthcare industry across the country, or yes, even the electric car industry pioneered by an immigrant named Elon Musk, who was undocumented when he launched his company. The U.S. needs and benefits from immigrants. From a purely economic standpoint, immigrants helped us to recover from the pandemic downturn and grow our economy far more quickly than we would have otherwise. Earlier this year, the Congressional Budget Office found that immigrants will add $7 trillion, that's trillion with a T, to the economy over the next 10 years, increase federal tax revenue by $1.2 trillion, and decrease the federal deficit by $900 billion. Americans are rightly frustrated at an outdated, slow, and unfair immigration system. We need a full reform, something that can only be done by Congress and that Republicans time and time again have refused to do.
USCIS and our partners across government have modernized and strengthened the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program while continuing to reinforce the capacity of our Asylum Officer Corps. We continue to carry out our role implementing strategies to discourage irregular migration while expanding the availability of safe, orderly, and lawful pathways to the United States. USCIS is also implementing better ways to do business. We're expanding online filing and improving avenues of communication with applicants. In an increasingly digital world, we're transforming our agency to one that is secure, transparent, responsive, and keeping pace with online advancements. My goal every day has been to ensure USCIS is able to uphold America's promise as a nation of welcome and possibility with fairness, integrity, and respect for all we serve. This was my commitment when I was confirmed in 2021, and it remains my commitment today. This nation needs a strong and effective immigration system and policies which reflect our values as Americans. And that policy must promote family unity, economic growth, and the value of citizenship. It must support our humanitarian values and demonstrate our place as a leader among free nations. It must promote lawful immigration and discourage irregular migration. My USCIS colleagues and I know this, and it shows in our work. We stand ready to work with you to continue to bring our immigration system into the 21st century. Thank you.
The question, for the third and final time, how many aliens who've entered the country pursuant to CHNV since October 2021 have changed their immigration status?
At the moment, I don't have those numbers with me, but
this
again,
is outrageous. How many aliens who've entered the country pursuant to CHNV since October 2022 remain CHNV parolees?
Again, I don't have those numbers with me
You were asked these
specifically.
questions in September. You were told in advance of this hearing that they would be asked again, and you were advised to have answers for us. These are basic questions of data. I'm astonished and appalled that you would appear before this committee with all of this advance notice and not be prepared to answer these basic questions.
So, Mr. Chairman, as you understand, I am the director of USCIS. I obviously am going to do my best to get back to you.
There's no excuse for you appearing before this committee unprepared to ask or to answer questions that you were specifically informed would be asked.
And
This is a dereliction of duty, among other things, and frankly, a contempt of this Congress.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, this is a process that you're asking about.
These
The
are
CHNB
basic data numbers.
That's
And again, it's not like you're being surprised by them. You've been asked these questions since September, and you were told they would be specifically asked at the outset of this hearing as you prepared to be here.
Yes, and that's why.
And yet you come here completely unprepared.
That is exactly why I did my best to ensure we could answer what I could answer.
This
As
is
you know,
one of the saddest appearances by an agency head that I have observed in now 16 years in the US House of Representatives. Let me ask you this. You posted a fact response back in October noting that there is no parole process under any of the CHNV parolee processes. How many CHNV aliens have had their parole expire and have not changed their immigration status?
So again, those are figures that not only require review of our systems at USCIS,
That you've had
but this
since
is a joint
September and were
program
told
with
to be asked. Let
CBP.
me ask again. For aliens who are not re-paroled, does their employment authorization terminate immediately upon the expiration of their parole?
Employment authorization was granted for the period of parole. So if that parole period ends, so would the employment authorization document.
Well, why would an alien who has no legal means of being in the U.S. still be able to work legally in the U.S.?
The employment authorization document is tied very directly to the end period of the parole.
What's the largest number of aliens that one supporter has sponsored between October 2022 and present?
Again, another question that I tried to get answered by today, but unfortunately it requires more work and not just work at USCIS.
Well, let me ask you this. What percentage of your workforce is still working at home?
I don't have the answer to that, but what I can say with regard to
What do you mean you
remote
can't
work.
answer that question? That's another fundamental basic question of administration. How many of your employees are still working at home?
I don't have that answer with me, but I can get it for you. That is definitely. But what I can say is that USCIS has never been more efficient than it is today, and has never been more secure
Your appearance
and
here
more
today,
full of integrity
your
than it is
appearance
today.
here today totally contradicts that conclusion. My time's concluded. Recognize the ranking member.
Thank you. Thank you again, Director Jadot, for being here. And as you just said, and as I mentioned in my opening statement, you and the hardworking staff at USCIS have done extraordinary work in getting the agency back on track from what it was handed to you as by the Trump administration. Somehow, in fiscal year 2023, you completed a record number of more than 10 million pending cases while constantly having unexpected issues thrown your way. And you processed nearly 200,000 employment-based green card applications, which is almost 40% more than normal. And you ensured that none went unused and were therefore wasted, as happened in the previous administration. So tell me, when you began as director, what were some of the biggest challenges that the agency faced? What was the primary cause of those challenges, and what did you do to address them?
Thank you for the question. As you know, USCIS, our primary responsibility is upholding and administering the legal immigration system for the nation. We take pride in that. We take pride in doing it in timely ways, with fairness, and with integrity. And security always top of mind.
We have supporters that were using all kinds of in their applications, all kinds of misinformation and fraud. So I just want to cover a few of these real quickly. Do you agree that the same Social Security number was used on at least 20 different CHNV supporter applications?
So first, let me start by saying
So these are yes/no questions. So yes or no?
I just want to make clear that the role that USCIS plays is on the supporter side.
And I'm asking about supporter applications.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question then? I heard it as the parolee.
No, the same Social Security number was used on at least 20 different CHNV supporter applications. That's the question
Thank
I
you.
asked.
Sorry.
You're aware of that?
Yes, I am very aware
That
of,
happened at least 3,200 times.
I don't have the exact number in
That's
front
according
of
to
me.
DHS's report.
Okay, I
You
don't have
don't
the,
dispute DHS's report, do you?
no, I absolutely will not.
And also,
I will
the
not
same
dispute
phone
what's
number was
been
used on at
submitted in
least
writing.
20 different supporter applications, at least 3,300 times. That's according to the report. Do you agree that that report's accurate?
I don't have that report in front of me, but
I'm reading
I
from
won't
it.
dispute, yes, but I don't have it in front of me, and I would prefer.
So you would dispute it?
No, I'm not disputing. What I am
So
saying
you would
is-
deflect and ramble around. You don't disagree with that number. You don't think I'm deliberately cherry-picking number and just saying, oh, I'm just throwing this stuff out. I'm giving you the numbers from the report. Do you
And
trust me on that?
unfortunately-
Do you at least trust me that far?
Yes,
Okay, so then you agree with that
am-
number. The same email address was used on at least 20 different supporter applications, nearly 2,000 times. You agree with that?
Sir, if there is a situation where we have
Okay, here,
concerns of fraud and integrity,
Look,
we take action at
I'm at-
USCIS, and that is exactly what we have done with regard to CHNV, where we.
Okay,
and
so
thi-
let's clarify here. So I'm laying foundation, and you don't really want to admit that there's this much rampant fraud here. You're trying to tell me that when you find fraud, we cure it, and yet nearly 2,000 times you had the same email address used on 20 different supporter applications. The same exact 184-word text response to a question on the supporter application was used on more than 1,800 such applications by nearly 190 different CHNV supporters. More than 460 non-existent zip codes were used on supporter applications on behalf of more than 2,800 CHNV aliens. So you see, you can dance around and say you don't have the report in front of you and whatnot, but these are the facts. This program is rife with fraud. As of August 6, 2024, DHS had approved more than 80,000 CHNV supporters who were in the U.S. on a temporary basis. Temporary basis. I'm going to give you some numbers. 224 CHNV parolees approved as CHNV supporters. That seems awkward. 170 additional parolees, non-CHNV, approved as CHNV supporters. 28,322 temporary protected status holders approved as CHNV supporters. 19,865 SLEs approved as CHNV supporters. 311 DACA recipients approved as CHNV supporters. 1,300 plus aliens in the U.S. on temporary visas approved as CHNV supporters. 64 refugees approved as CHNV supporters. 1,912 conditional permanent residents approved as CHNV supporters. That is the program that you are administering. That's the section that you're administering. That's the supporters. I'm not talking the aliens. I'm not getting into the violation of law of the U.S. Code 1182 when the use of parole is supposed to be on a case-by-case basis, where Secretary Mayorkas himself has sat here and under oath said it's supposed to be on a case-by-case basis. I'm not getting into that. What I'm getting into is a program the side that USCIS is supposed to actually administer, and that is the supporter applications. And the fraud was so rampant, you closed down the program. But you didn't fix it. It's still ongoing. We're waiting for the next report to confirm that these things are still going on because it wasn't fixed. Mr. Chairman, my time's up. I'll yield back.
Director, there's significant fraud that's happened in the Afghan SIV program. There's a bribery scheme that was identified by the Department of Justice and brought to light where they're submitting fraudulent letters recommending SIVs to the State Department. Are you familiar with those SIV cases that are being taken care of where there's fraudulent applications being put in?
Thank you. I am familiar with the issue. I'm not sure I can go into detail, given the investigation.
How widespread is it?
Again, it would be, it's not something that I
Why
can get
can't
into publicly.
you can't answer the question because you don't know the answer, or you're saying you're
In an
hiding behind a
appropriate
legal shield?
I think in an appropriate setting, I think I'd be happy to get back with you on that.
What would be an appropriate setting?
I think that given the investigation you've noted, I think it would be really important for us to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I think that that's something we should take into consideration as we go forward. Do you think there's national security concerns with this?
So let me start by saying in our Afghan programs, US.
So I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
Do you think there are national security concerns, considering this is Afghanistan, the bullseye for terrorism concerns in the world? Do you think there's national security concerns?
With regard to each application before us, we take every case we review, case by case. We run them against our security and vetting systems.
Do you believe there's national security concerns with the Afghans when there are Afghans coming in fraudulently with fraudulent applications? The Department of Justice has referred them. They know this is happening. Don't you think that there's national security concerns?
The security and vetting and the safety of the American people is number one for us.
Will you revet, so these people that have been identified, will your agency revet them now that you know some of them have submitted fraudulent applications?
We look at every case before us, any request before us, and use the strongest security and vetting we have available for whatever threat may or may not be in front of us. That is a connection that we have with our law enforcement and intelligence partners.
This is the strongest vetting when you have the Department of Justice that's forwarding these cases now saying, these are being done fraudulently. You know, Mr. Chairman, I think this is part of the reason why the other side was saying, we've completed 10 million cases. Not hard to commit 10 million cases when you're not reviewing them. I want to change topics a little bit here. Do you think the children of foreign tourists should receive citizenship?
The children of foreign tourists,
Do you think they should receive citizenship? Let me give you a context so you can
okay,
answer.
I'm not quite understanding your
Since
question.
2009, communist Chinese passport holders have been permitted to sidestep the U.S. visa requirements to enter the Northern Mariana Islands through categorical parole. My first question is, the Department of National Intelligence says Communist China is the greatest national security threat to the United States. Do you agree with DNI on that Communist China is our greatest threat?
I'm not a foreign policy expert.
I think most people would say that's probably the case. And so why is the administration allowing this to continue, where it is not required of a Chinese communist national coming into the Northern Mariana Islands without a visa, having a child, and that child becomes a citizen? Do you think that should be the case?
Congressman,
there are more children being born via birth tourism on the Mariana Islands right now than there are domestic children being born because of that loophole. They don't even have to have a visa to come in here. And here's a Chinese national, maybe affiliated with the Communist Party, that is able to get citizenship for their child. I'm just gonna close with this, Director. I'm gonna ask you the Vice President Harris question. First of all, you're a political appointee, right?
yes.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets over what's happened over the last 4 years with the open borders policies in all its different ways here in America?
I am proud of the efforts that this administration has made with regard to its efforts.
So you have no
on the
regrets?
Southwest border.
You have no regrets?
Again,
The largest, I'm just going to close with this.
Sure.
You have been part of the largest human trafficking operation since slavery in the United States of America. It is The people of the United States voted for change on November 5th, and we can only pray, Mr. Chairman, that it happens soon.
When we allow hundreds of thousands of immigrants, migrants, to leap ahead in line, we lose the trust of people like Kayla who've waited for years to become Americans. We lose the trust of legal immigrants who come here in good faith, seeking a better life. And we lose the trust of the American people. And I'm telling you, I'd love to take you out on the street. I'd love to take you to my district, or I'll walk out any district and talk to Americans and how tired of it they are. They're sick and tired of it. This American system is a great system, and it's a system where you're supposed to follow the law, the rule of law, and it's supposed to be equal for everybody. So I have questions for you, and I'm going to ask you for a simple yes or no because we're running out of time. It's an easy question. USCIS, has it diverted resources from legal processing, from processing legal immigration applicants to address issues stemming from parole programs like CHNV program? Yes or no? Are we removing some resources? I know the answer already.
No.
Okay, well, I disagree with you. We are and we have to. Do you believe that the current administration of the CHNV program has strengthened public trust in our immigration system? And this is where I'll take you out on the street if you want to talk to people, yes or no. Do you think people have more trust in our immigration system now than when you all started 4 years ago? Yes or no? Simple question.
Creating lawful pathways is one piece
Yes or no?
of a strategy.
Do they have more confidence now than they did
the
before?
border.
Yes or no? Is there more confidence?
Effective border management that's enduring.
Yes or no, please?
requires both
Respectfully, yes or no?
enforcement.
Do people have more confidence now on the street, on the American people who pay the taxes, who pay your salary and my salary, do they have more confidence now than they did 4 years ago? Yes or no?
I have not surveyed.
You can't answer the
Americans
question
that
because you
way.
know the answer is no, they don't. It's part of what happened in this election. Mr. Chairman,
I'm afraid that the gentleman is not going to get a straight answer from
know.
his witness, and his time is.
so, Mr. Chairman, I yield back. I would like to submit for the record a question which I don't have time to get to right now regarding the visas for foreign nationals to operate as airline pilots. I would like a response from you as well. That question I asked to be put in.